Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shills, debt slicers, peasants, vassals, minions, meat sacks. I'm a useful idiot. Welcome. And let's go to the not so good old USA right now and talk about the fact that Trump could very easily be assassinated. And that's kind of a no-brainer. Certainly, lots of people discussed it, but what alarms me is the amount of insinuations of this, and it's given a new legitimacy that we've never really seen before. Of course, there's examples of I think there was a high school teacher who used a assassination demonstration in a classroom who ended up getting fired, and then the fact that we've got the global media involved in this, including an Irish magazine that had a cover with Trump's head in the sights of a sniper rifle, and you can't get any more blatant than that. And I really do think that the fact is that the power players and the mob that they have harnessed is creating a pressure cooker. And there's a lot of people that want Trump dead, frankly. When you go out in the social media, it's become pretty much rote to see people constantly say something to the effect that they wouldn't generally wish something like that, but why wouldn't somebody shoot Trump? And so the atmosphere has been set up for it. Not only that, to the point where it's been encouraged so much that anybody who does it will be considered a hero. And unlike these so many other cases, this would look like a case of righteous vigilantism, and so that has a disturbing implication to it. And then the fact that so many people have been so emotionally disturbed and whipped into a frenzy by the media and the politicians using the most base appeal to people's emotions, and just these horrible stories that have been thrown around as if a lot of it was even true, and it's only made people really plumb the depths of their emotions, and it makes actually millions of people capable of shooting or assassinating a politician, and that's the kind of atmosphere we have. And like I say, I think that there's a lot of forces in play that want to create this pressure cooker, and obviously the media is having a war. They're having a corporate war on Trump, and I don't know why anybody acts like that's some kind of conspiracy theory, or that they can't figure it out because it's so obvious. The fact is that the media cashed in on the Trump phenomenon during the nomination, and then, like everyone else, kind of in shock when he got elected. And now the studies show that somewhere between 70 and 80% of media in the United States has turned on Trump, and now there's this well-publicized media war going on between Trump and the media, and it's not unprecedented at all. So I pointed out there's stories about an incredible adversarial relationship between Lincoln and the press, and also FDR and the press, and you can go in any point in U.S. history and see this adversarial relationship, sometimes very vicious, between the administration and the press. And well, there should be. The same elements are in play, a lot of fake news and the like. And so anyway, so we have the press creating this pressure cooker. And of course, boy, they would certainly cash in if there was violence against anyone in the Trump administration or an assassination attempt or something. Their ratings would go through the ceiling, of course, and that's their bottom line. But then we see all these stories of these so-called right-wing attacks, and I've looked at a lot of these stories, and some of them are pretty questionable. Some of them don't look necessarily real, but the idea that there's these right-wing nuts going around hurting people is only causing the left to feel justified in any kind of violence that they want to perpetrate, and that's another way that this pressure cooker is created to undermine the Trump administration. And then, like I point out in all these other videos, one has to remember too that the GOP, status quo GOP in the government, and elements of the deep state are screwing with Trump from within too. So he's not only getting attacked from the media, he's not only getting attacked by the Democrats and the status quo Democrats Party and the liberal base, but he's also being attacked by the status quo GOP within. And then we have this new awareness of the deep state. And I find that really hilarious that, of course, we have the deep state is definitely creating a lot of pressure Who can forget the CIA warning that Trump better be careful? Uh, those sort of things are serious in these circles. And so this animosity between the intelligence agencies and Trump is once again something that creates a pressure cooker, and a lot of things can happen. Certainly, we know the discussions of the CIA and their animosity and struggle and feud going on with the Kennedys and what happened there. So you have to bear that in mind. But I do find it rather ironic that some of the liberal base seems to think the deep state is not continuous, that somehow the oligarchy and the deep state takes time off during 8 years of Obama and is only around when Bush and Trump are president. And that's not the case. But it's good that people are becoming more aware of the deep state and the fact that there's something that runs the government, and that the president can oftentimes serve as a front man. And that's another topic for another day. But and then we have all these politicians, including Obama and Hillary Clinton and local people in Washington here, like Jay Inslee, who fan the flames and encourage the kind of volatility that we see out there, and they're contributing to creating this atmosphere, this pressure cooker, and they're giving this so-called resistance movement a legitimacy, and the media and the politicians are galvanizing everyone in this atmosphere of resisting everything that's going on. And of course, when you raise these levels of tensions, they rise in the liberal base, but they also rise in the conservative base, and they also rise in the liberal politicians and the conservative politicians, as well as the liberal media and the conservative media. So the pressure cooker just gets built up on all sides, and it becomes easy to hate someone like Trump after you've had a president like Obama. That's how it works, the cult of personality, and personality based and emotion based politics. And so that's another thing that contributes to this pressure cooker and could make it easier for somebody to decide they want to kill Trump because of the way he is portrayed as a degenerate, as a bigot, and as a racist, as a sexist. So they tap into all these different demographics that could justify going out and assassinating a politician for one reason or another. And then we have the idea that tensions could be rising again between the U.S. and Russia, and the U.S. and Iran, and that only contributes to the atmosphere of a pressure cooker. If we have a lot more chaos that gets unleashed in the real world, then what's going on within the United States just gets that more amplified, and this pressure cooker continues to build. And also, let's remember too, there's going to be a lot of extra scrutiny by the press now, because there is a press war on Trump, and there's also going to be a higher level of scrutiny by the liberal base. They're going to pay attention to every little detail that goes on now, and that's going to contribute to the pressure cooker. And that's another thing that's predictable and ironic, because of course during 8 years of Obama, the conservative base paid attention to every little detail he did, while after not paying attention to a lot of things Bush did for 8 years. And the liberal base didn't pay much attention to the details when Obama was president for 8 years, but they're paying attention to every detail now. And once again, that kind of level of scrutiny can make every little story get blown way out of proportion and way distorted, and just add to this pressure cooker. And one of the things that is interesting too about the dynamics that are set up now is one has to ask themselves, since you have people, generals, and somebody, for example, like Mike Pence, who's the vice president, is he placed so that if something happens to Trump, then the deep state has their representative leading the government? That potentiality is not lost on me, looking at the fact that if they did end up getting rid of Trump, then Pence would lead the country, and he would be a pretty ideal candidate for the deep state and the status quo. And so there's that. And then there's also the fact that we have the Federal Reserve is in position to really crash the Trump administration. If they raise the rates a significant amount at the wrong / right time, then it can unleash a lot of economic chaos. And like I say, create a pressure cooker in which Trump becomes once again painted as the fall guy, painted as the one who's too inept to control the economy, when in actuality there's a smoldering heap, rotten foundation out there that's been passed to Trump and is going to be a liability while he's president and could be easily exploited. So I think, we have pressure from below. In these classic situations, we have pressure from above, pressure from below. We're getting pressure from the so-called resistance movement, pressure from above, from the deep state and the status quo GOP and Democrats, and then pressure from both sides. Once again, the fact that there's elements of both supposed both parties, GOP and the Democrats, that are against Trump. And so I think once again, the fact that so much shock out there, the fact that Trump actually won the election, in spite of all the post-election gyrations, it looks like Trump did actually win the election. Now, like I say, it seems like there's a purposeful creation of a pressure cooker because still people still don't want to accept it. And I find it interesting too that there's people that are already painting this as one of the worst administrations in history, and like I say, nothing really has happened yet, and most of it is just a lot of melodrama. And if Trump ended up getting assassinated over what he's done thus far, it would be truly ironic indeed. But in the meantime, like I say, more than I've thought even before. I remember deciding that perhaps Obama was going to be the fall guy, and Obama would be assassinated because there was so much ground level conservative base hate against Obama. Looking back, I can see in heart of hearts there was a lot of conservative base that were actually prepared to think maybe Obama would change things, and in fact, Obama didn't change things. But there's a new kind of atmosphere out there right now, and there's a lot of different status quo elements out there aligned against Trump, and it's creating a real pressure cooker atmosphere like I haven't seen for decades, and something bad could happen. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.